We're going to get started here. I'm going to call the Urban Affairs Committee to order at 5:30 p.m. We have four orders to take up this evening. We're going to go out of order from what is on the schedule here to what I think is a more sensible order. We're going to start out first with order number 19-100, 7791. Communication from City Solicitor Grossfield on behalf of Councilor Delano regarding proposed amendment to Chapter 526 signs regarding electronic signage for a multi-product LED pump topper and video graphics array VGA color screens at gasoline stations. So the gas stations are all starting to use these video screens on their pumps. They're not allowed by ordinance right now. They've been trying to go up through the planning board to get variances, but they really don't have the power to do that. So we're going to change the code. We're going to allow them with limitations. Probably neither side will be completely happy, but compromise is the grease of good public policy. So with that, if everybody could just look at the proposed language. Essentially what we're doing is we're going to allow by right the ability to have the multi-product LED price pump toppers. So a lot of the stations have little toppers on top of the pumps that are electronic that show the price. So, you know, I don't see a big problem with that. One of the things that we said is that they'll be able to do those. They can have one color on all of them, or they can do one color for regular fuel, one color for diesel fuel if they want to do it that way. So that's fairly straightforward. Does anybody have any questions about that part, just the pump topper? Nope, pretty easy, okay. The other is for the video graphics signs or the video screens. I don't like any of those things, but as a compromise, I can certainly go along with the video screens without the volume, because the volume so often is so loud and annoying. I just don't want our residents to have to do that. And I think it's a terrible answer for somebody to say, well, then your residents don't have to come to our station. If that's a convenience station, they don't have to be assaulted that way. And because most of these gas stations now have mini marts, other kinds of stores, the convenience stores that don't have gas don't have the ability to advertise in the same way. So it was my thought in discussing with other people that we allow the VGA signs, but then we're not going to have all those ugly signs that are plastered all over the windows of the gas stations. And if any of you saw, you know, we all got this the other day. So the choice will be, I'm going to use these VGA signs. I can have 20 different things scroll through while I'm pumping gas, but you're gonna have a clean windows, and only 10% of the window can be covered with that kind of advertising or other things. That allows almost everything that people want to do. It tweaks on a couple of other things, but I think it's a reasonable compromise, and you know, I'll open it up for discussion. Councilor Landers.
I assume, Mr. Chairman, that all of these screens and voices, I don't think they sell more gas. I think they must get some type of revenue.
They do. They get some, and I'm not against anybody getting revenue.
I'm not either, but the whole idea is I think it can be a disturbing factor. It can be a disturbing factor to the any houses next door. I'm thinking one in the corner of East Main and Lincoln. There's residential people right there.
Right. So if they don't have the volume, there's no sound allowed.
No, I know that.
So. And even if you don't like them, when you're pumping gas, you don't have to look there.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to look at it and you have to listen to the high volume, you don't have a choice. So yes, some of these do have either national contracts or other things with that coming in, but I've got no problem with them making some money. Councilor Tenera.
Just to voice my opinion, I'm quite the opposite of you, of course. I don't mind the voice. I was just filling up the other day, and as I stated before, there was a rundown of the scores. There was the sports. I wanted to hear it, so I got to hear it. So it was nice. I got to, and it wasn't loud and
You can
obnoxious.
also see that on the screen too.
Yeah, but, you know, the sportscaster there, he's telling the stories, you know, but it kept me entertained while I was filling my gas, and I kind of like that, so
Can you live with a compromise?
am I willing
'Cause I
to?
didn't like the screens at all. But
Oh,
I'm
I don't
going
mind
with
the screens. I think it's a little form of entertainment. I get ADD, so I like these things, you know? I like to,
Any other
I
questions,
like to be
comments?
entertained. That's it for me. I just,
Okay, I appreciate you. So, Counselor Doucette, we're working on the the ordinances for the gas stations,
With the LED signs?
the LED signs where we allow the pump toppers with either all the same color, you know, the little things not more than 8
The
inches.
sign displays for pricing,
They
right?
just give you the sign pricing. They could have one color, or one color for gas and one color for diesel. Everybody's fine with that.
Screen's good.
I'm fine with that, too.
And then the,
And typically, the
I
diesels
go
are
to
a
Main
separate
Street, she pumps
pump
the gas.
anyway.
yeah, we're gonna leave that all to them
Right,
to do that, but that's
right.
correct.
And for the displays, for the commercials and stuff, it was said before in one of the other ones that
Pull your
it's...
microphone, move, please.
Sure. That basically, it's tough to find a pump that doesn't have them. And I noticed that myself as in my travels, that, you know, most of the new gas stations have them. I'm fine with it, you know, to have something. I think audio is okay as long as it's limited to a particular level. That's, you know,
So this ordinance does not allow audio. My opinion is there's so many problems with audio that it's a constant battle, number one. Some companies don't control it locally, because I've gone in and said, this is, you're hurting my ears. Well, that's out of whatever
Yeah.
city, state, and all that. And I don't
Yeah.
like the audio, and I won't support anything with audio. I don't really like the screens, but I'm trying to compromise and
yeah,
and do that.
that's fine.
Can you live with that?
I can live with that.
Okay. Any other?
No, that was my major problem, Mr.
Counselor
Chairman.
Landers.
Oh,
Have
I'm
we
sorry.
received many complaints from people?
Well, you're not legally allowed to have these in the city.
Yeah, but
So-
we have them, but have we,
So there were complaints from the Speedway, whatever, the farthest east gas station. It's changed over a number of times across, it's kind of near Nissan down in that area.
there's no homes there though, are there?
No, from people that are in there, it's so loud.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I go to Main Street and she pumps my gas and I'm very happy. She gives me the update, what's going on in her.
No commercials here,
her
Counselor.
country, you know.
Somebody's getting free gas, maybe. Okay. So that was the main thing. I'm sure you've all read this. Any councilors you aware?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All we have is these two conditions then, correct?
Well,
Am I on the right?
Well, yeah, and I think there are also some minor, some minor changes in Section B, just to clarify what we had done before. If you remember, and the city solicitor recommended this, a couple years ago, a year ago, when we were battling with the Apex Center, where they were showing videos and doing all these things which were clearly prohibited, but they said the language wasn't clear enough, so we put that in for those big LED signs. This does not affect the gas stations. They can do video, they can do all those things on those video screens.
All right, I'm ready to make a motion if you're ready for one, unless
I'm
there's
ready.
more discussion.
Any more discussion, questions, concerns?
And I will make a
Okay,
motion that
Counselor?
we approve as amended. Do
We
we
haven't
need to amend
amended
it?
anything.
Or
No, we haven't amended anything.
we have, okay, then I make a motion
The
to...
motion is made and seconded to approve. Any other discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 1, okay. It passes 4-1. Okay, so now we'll take up order number 19-100, 7670, application for signed special permit from Attorney Elizabeth McDonough Noonan on behalf of Colbia Enterprises, LLC, 342 Boston Post Road East.
Good morning, good evening.
Good evening. You
It's been a
sit
long
right
day.
at the table
Okay,
there?
want me to sit at the table instead? Fine. Been a long day.
That's okay.
Lots of driving.
Every city and town does it a little different. And if you could just pull the microphone
Certainly.
close enough, but not too close.
Thank you. Again, Elizabeth Noonan on behalf of Colbia Enterprises. We have filed a request for the special permit for signs. When we originally filed it, it was for the price toppers, it was for the video gas pumps, and also for the freestanding sign. If the amendment that you have just approved is passed by the council, the only relief that we would then need would be for the freestanding sign. And what we're proposing on that is currently it's 101.4 square feet. We'll resurface the existing sign to bring it to 100 square feet, which is allowed. The only thing that would be different is it would only be prices. That would be the only things that are lit up on that, and it would be in the two colors, allowing for regular and then the diesel, which is consistent with how we advertise for the toppers. So,
You're not going to have an electronic message board with, okay,
no,
okay.
no.
So, in that case, I would just recommend you come back with that clarified in the decision,
I would?
and it should take us a couple minutes to fix.
Okay. Any other?
Councilor Doucette?
I just want to, so you're not going to have an LED display of pricing?
No, there is for the pricing, but there's no other message board, not like, milk is $1.99 or
Right,
whatever.
only for...
Only
right.
for gasoline
Only for
pricing.
gasoline.
Correct.
Okay, yep.
And no pictures or graphics or anything else that I think
That makes
this
it easy.
ordinance addresses now.
Is there any other questions, comments? So a move to table would be in order.
Motion to table.
Motion is made and seconded to table. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
Thank you
Thank
for
you very
coming
much.
in.
Thanks.
Okay, so next we're gonna take up another zoning change. It's order number 19-100, 7673B. Proposed zoning petition from Councilor Delano, as requested by Commissioner Cook and Solicitor Grossfield, amending Chapter 650-12, non-conforming uses. So just to remind the committee and councilors, a lot of these that are coming in from me are from department heads in different areas. So don't think I'm trying to change the whole code myself here. That's not my intention. So for this is very straightforward, and we'll ask the commissioner if we need any help. But essentially, what we're trying to do, what the building commissioner and working with the city solicitor suggested, is that we put this more in conformity with Mass General Code. If you go to Mass General, MGL 40A, Chapter C, it talks about structures and uses, and we're talking about pre-existing structures and uses. Our code just talked about uses. We're adding in structures, so that a building that's been there 20 years and has been abandoned for quite a while, and that they could come back and do something that's not in conformance. And so we're just trying to update that. The building commissioner told us that that was usually how it was in other cities and towns, and so it seemed like a good idea to go through that. The planning board went through this, and within about 2 or 3 minutes approved it. So it's straightforward. Are there any questions, comments, concerns? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much. Question to the building inspector, or?
So, Mr. Cook, if you could just come up, please.
Okay. I just...
Do you not have one of these? No. Okay.
Just in a general case, I mean, I've known that there has been some buildings, and I'm wondering, what is the definition of abandonment? If you have some buildings that are unoccupied for possibly years because the business went belly up, and, it may take some time for a new business to come in and lease the property. So it's empty but not necessarily abandoned. So I'm trying to understand, like, what's the, how does that work?
Abandoned is very hard to come up with a point in time. When is it actually abandoned? It can be that I'll use a gas station that they no longer renew their underground storage tank license.
Okay.
They stop delivery. Several of the zoning gurus and attorneys will talk about change it to non-use, because abandoned is very hard fixed time to say when did they do it.
It's usually after the fact.
Right.
Yeah, so Commissioner, if I could, but the term abandonment means just not used,
It's not used
right, for a period of 2 years.
for a period of 2 years. So changing it from abandoned, because you have to have an intent to abandon, to then putting it in as non-use, that's very easy. This business moved out. This was an auto body shop in a residential zone. It moved out. It hasn't been occupied for 2 years. Non-use.
And Councilors, if you will remember that when we talk about these pre-existing non-conforming, they always will have had to have been legal uses, right? So just because it's old doesn't mean it was legal ever, okay? Any other questions, comments, Councilor Doucette?
Well, so if someone maintains an empty building, is that considered to be abandonment?
Well, if you're doing retail sales and you stop doing retail sales, that use is non-use anymore.
Right, but
So you
typically,
can maintain a building and keep it painted and everything, but is that activity, like an example, retail sales?
right. I mean, typically, the business that does the retail sales is not the same as the property owner.
Right.
Okay, so the property owner may want to maintain the site, this is all a hypothetical thing, to maintain it, to look good and stuff like that.
And we have
possibly make
other
it appealing for-
ordinances that require that.
Right,
So
but,
if I can just cut to this, so Commissioner, the abandonment has nothing to do with the condition of the property.
Correct.
It's how is it being used? Is it being used in this way? And if you haven't used it in this way, in that building doesn't have that protection after 2 years.
Correct.
Nothing to do with broken windows or paint.
well, that's kind of where I was going with this. So, basically, if it's, as long as it's unused, even though the property owner is trying to maintain it so it could be used in the same way at some future date, trying to line up business for that.
The whole point of zoning is you're never going to have a zone complete in compliance, because you're always going to have pre-existing nonconformity. But as a use is abandoned and not used for a period of time, we're trying to bring that neighborhood into conformity, that
Okay.
zone. That's the point. Granting variances is doing, when ZBA or somebody does that, that is giving the opposite. You are making that zoning district more non-conforming.
Right, okay. Okay, so that hypothetically, the ZBI could get involved and all that fun stuff as well. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Irish?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Commissioner, so basically what we're doing here is trying to update for the Mass General Law, to update our zoning that was from 1969 or something like that. So now, have you seen any hardships with any of the language prior to this that would prevent an applicant or something of that nature with this language from 1969, or?
I'm not quite hearing.
Well, my concern is, okay, so we want to change and update the Mass General Law. So now, prior to this, was there any applicant or someone questioning our zoning prior to this that could have been a hardship toward them because we didn't mirror the Mass General Law?
It's not a hardship when a body shop goes out of business, has been vacant for 5 years.
Okay. And that's the abandonment?
So we're trying to add clarity to the language.
So it updates for the Mass General Law?
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Of course. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments, concerns? Motion would be in order.
Motion to approve?
Motion is made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. All right, we're making incredible speed, which is incredibly unusual. So our last order of the evening is order number 19-100, 7757, application for special permit from Nicholas Masso on behalf of Indo Laboratories to operate a marijuana testing laboratory at 257 Cimarano Drive. Gentlemen. So before we start, I have a few notes that I just want to go through, and then we can get into it as well. Let me turn to your conditions as soon as I can find it in my packet here. Oh, here it is. So there are a number of things that I would prefer to discuss and modify. Number one, let's see, excuse me. I apologize, I have to find my correct thing. I know it's in, oh, here it is. Too many papers. All right, so on condition 18, it talks about, according to the applicant, the facility has been inspected by the fire chief and meets all safety and building codes. I just want to make sure that we're going to require that a letter in writing to that effect, okay? We just want to make sure that what you're doing in there, I think, as you said before, there's almost no changes, so that should be very simple.
Okay.
Other things that I had in mind, I feel like we need to add under the conditions, and this will be whatever the council decides, but there should be a letter E, or it should be in there somewhere, regarding a written security plan. You talk about security, but it should be a written security plan that is approved in writing by the police chief or his designee.
Okay.
Okay, and if there are any significant changes to that, again, you would have to go through the police chief. So when we're going through these, it'll be up to you to make the changes that we discussed tonight and send us back an updated findings.
Okay.
The other is that since the Board of Health just passed their rules and regulations, I want to make sure that that's adopted as part of this special permit. It's binding anyways, but that it's part of the special permit to make sure that you're going to comply with all of those things, which you have to do anyways, but I just want to make sure it's clear to the public.
Mr. Chairman?
Counselor?
So I've spent time going through what the Board of Health just approved.
Pretty basic.
Aside from a definition, I see no impact on laboratories as it's, I mean, you guys can read it as well, but I've gone through it 3 times now, and other than the definition of establishment where they say laboratory, there is nothing in any of the ordinance there that says anything about a laboratory. It talks about selling, medical, medicinal, deliveries, nothing that has to do with testing. Just again, my observation.
I don't disagree, but I think as Cynthia, Assistant Solicitor Penagor Griffin used to like to say, belt and suspenders,
Okay.
right? And so, and what I would also have in the language is that you're required to comply with any future changes to the regulations promulgated by the Board of Health.
Okay.
And lastly, I think that we want to address signage, that your signage should not mention, imply, refer to in any way, manner, shape, or form to marijuana. So no 3-leaf things, no marijuana. I'm sure you wouldn't want to do that either because you want to be low profile, but I just want to have that as a condition as well.
Not a problem.
So those were the things I had off the top of my head. Councilor Landers?
Just quickly, referring back to your comment on security, I believe the chief mentions in his memo to Karen or to us, how did it read here? Oh, I look forward to meeting with the applicant to review their security plan for the site. So I think that'd be a good place to start with Chief Georgie.
Absolutely, and that's what this other finding would have, is that I want to make sure they don't just have a discussion with the chief, that he signs off in writing to their written security plan. That way we all know.
Let that be an additional, letter E or something?
Yeah, I had that down as being letter E, yes.
That's a good
But
idea.
good point, great minds think alike. Councilor Doucette?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just want to cover a couple of things. Now, there are 2 or 3 different, how many current marijuana testing facilities there are in the state? You guys know that, right? 3. Are any of them making the payments to the municipalities for their work? Do you know, like the
I'm not privy to that information as to whether or not they are. This has been a rather heated topic of debate as to whether or not laboratories should be included in a community impact fee. Really, the community impact fee was designed because it was believed that marijuana establishments could potentially pose a negative impact to the communities by changing traffic patterns and requiring resources from those communities, such as police details. The laboratories themselves are not retail, as we spoke about in our last presentation, and there will be no changes to the community whatsoever, and any ways, especially that are negative. In fact, all of our impact will only be positive in making sure that the communities are consuming safe products. No additional security measures will be required aside from the actual facility itself, and no changes to traffic and consumers. Or we're not selling a product; it's a service, so no one will actually ever be visiting our site.
Right. You're actually doing pickup at the grow facilities or
Yes,
wherever?
we will.
Yeah. Also, well, I'd like to at least do some research and find out if anything was being done in the other municipalities, to find out if there's been something. If they're doing it, we should. If not, we shouldn't, type of thing.
Absolutely. And I'll dig a little deeper as well, and I'll send you information if I can find anything
Okay.
about those.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
You know, it's a quick call to Natick. Is it Natick or Framingham? It's Natick.
Framingham.
Framingham, okay. Whichever one it is. But I'd like to know that, to get clarification.
And there's actually a 5-year limit on that impact fee as well, because it was really sort of an initial trial period of these facilities coming in, because it's going to be a little bit more activity in the beginning, obviously, for a lot of the retail establishments. So it's and then it's reevaluated after 5 years.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's reevaluated for 5 years when it gets renewed again.
Yeah,
So
exactly,
that's,
yes,
it's not
yes.
going to, it may not stop after 5.
Yeah,
So,
that's
but,
true.
Anyway, I think that you guys have really hit the mark. I reviewed your business plan. I was surprised you included your business plan, by the way. But I think that there's a real market demand for this. I was listening to NPR last week. and-
Counselor, not to cut you off, but let's,
Okay. Well, one of the, because I think there's an urgency here that needs to be addressed. What I understand is that the facility that's there is ready to be moved in, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So what are the next steps that are required? After you get approval from the city, what's the next steps after that before you actually can start testing?
So we will continue on our path to acquiring ISO 17025 accreditation, which is basically making sure that all of our SOPs have been documented, and that what we say we can do is what we can do. We have all of the right pieces of equipment that have been recommended and standardized by that particular organization for cannabis testing.
Now, does that have to be completed for the Cannabis Control Commission approval?
Yes, it has to be.
Okay.
Before we can even apply to the Cannabis Control Commission, we have to have that ISO accreditation. It's a very lengthy process.
Right.
It's a full lab audit, and
Right.
every person in that facility needs to be able to demonstrate that they can perform those SOPs as well.
I went through the ISO, I've been involved in going through the ISO standards in previous work, so I understand how hard it's going to be. The other question I had is, if you're looking at, there's references in the business plan, whether or not the samples are destroyed after testing, or basically when you extract the piece from the sample to do the testing, the remaining gets destroyed.
So upon sample intake, they are mechanically processed, and upon that first step renders them unusable. And then any remainder sample that's not processed for its various testing is immediately rendered unusable by submerging in ethanol or isopropyl alcohol. So
Okay. What I'm saying is this needs to be clarified in here, because you basically say in one part of this, which was different than our conversation before, is that in here it says it's being destroyed after testing, where technically that's not true. So
that might
just
have been a mischaracterization.
go find and
during
fix
the-
it,
yeah.
type of thing.
so where is that, Counselor?
Hold on.
Because this is right now is when we're going to correct
Yep.
it and have them
Item
come back with
13.
language. Okay.
Okay, and it says, in summation, all marijuana samples will be destroyed immediately following testing process, which is not necessarily true. So if you can get that clarified.
Well,
We can clarify that.
yeah.
Well,
So
just clarify it, that's all.
So just either a comma or a sentence to follow saying, anything not used for testing will immediately be treated in the same manner. Something to that effect.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Good point,
other,
Counselor.
right, the other final comment is, in your business plan, you talk about growth beyond this, the boundaries of Massachusetts, and you guys realize you can't, like, transport this over state borders, right?
Yes, that's very true. So, and that's why each state has to have its own testing lab.
Yeah.
And we can only test within the state of Massachusetts.
Yes.
So if we did ever decide to expand this organization, and that would be, down the line when we feel that we have the appropriate tech transfer and it can actually create a scalable process, we will make sure that, and actually have to comply with those other states' laws as well.
Right, and you now have precedence because you've done it in this state to go into the other
Yes.
states and kind of do that. Thank you for letting me put you guys through the ringer on this one. I do believe, I not only feel I support this, but we should suspend the rules and get this passed in one night, so, thank you.
Counselor, just a note, you asked them to go do research and come back to us.
Oh, that's a fair point, okay.
So why don't we have the discussion to see if the rest of the council wants mitigation or to have that discussion right now? My feeling that with the retail marijuana shops, as much as there may be some palliative and recreational benefits, there is absolutely going to be problems. There are absolutely going to be more car accidents. There's going to be problems. We know this. Anybody that's done any reading knows there's going to be problems, and that's part of why we ask for those offset payments. On this, I don't see any problem with it. So as much as I love to get revenue for the city, I don't see it, but that's just me. Councilor Jouer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with what you're saying. You're a laboratory. There's other labs in the city that do testing for different materials, different medications, the pharmaceuticals that are here, and I don't believe we're getting anything extra for them. So with just the label of we're doing laboratory testing on marijuana, I don't see a need for it. Councilor Rossing is probably going to disagree with me, but
I don't know about that.
I just don't. It's a laboratory. If they were selling it, I would certainly have a very different opinion.
We shall see. My guess is that Councilor Rossing will agree with you. Councilor Rossing.
It doesn't pain me, but I do agree with Councilor Jouer. Again, they're not generating revenue. I mean, they're making money doing the testing, but it's not selling a product that's generating revenue from a sales tax or impact fee perspective. So it's a laboratory, and I need people to make sure they understand it's a testing laboratory. It's not.
Understand that well.
Okay, right. Enough said. I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Councilor Landers and
Yeah,
Councilor
same
Irish.
thing there. I don't see Summerall Drive changing at all. I don't see any additional police out there, fire. I just think it's, as we were saying, it's a lab. As man over there said, it's a lab.
As the gentleman said. Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I totally agree. I would not be disappointed if you were very successful and got a lot more equipment in the laboratory for personal property. I think that would be a good thing for the city to see your growth going forward. But I totally agree with the committee on that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Doucette.
I'm going to leave it up to the majority of the council.
Okay, so we're going to, from what I can see, 5 votes that don't want to do any kind of required payments, so that's enough that would offset that. So if you're okay with that, we're just going to move on and let that rest. Okay, so we have a number of suggested changes on number 13 to talk about if any product is not used for testing, it will be immediately destroyed. Number 18, that you're going to provide written confirmation from the police chief to the city council and Board of Health that everything's safe there. We're going to add under the conditions, a letter E regarding the written security plan and written approval from the police chief, and a requirement that any substantive changes to your security plan will need to be cleared by the police chief or his designee in writing. I would suggest number F, that you will, something to the effect that you're going to apply with all rules and regulations of the Board of Health shall put forth regarding marijuana regulations, testing, etc., current and future. Letter G, the signage will not mention, refer to, or indicate in any manner your involvement in the marijuana business. And there's one other note that I had was at the end of this, probably letter H, you have to record this decision. So that's just a legal thing, your lawyer will know what to do, but it has to be recorded in a certain manner.
Okay.
So that's usually the last condition. That's all I have, folks. Is there any other things that you want to discuss about this?
Would you-
Concerns, comments? Councilor Jouer?
Repeat F for me, please.
So F is, so F would be that the applicant we would require compliance with all Board of Health rules and regulations, current and future, in regard to the marijuana business or marijuana regulations.
Thank you.
Okay?
As it applies to laboratories, right?
Perfect. Thank you. Good addition. G is signage and H is the recording. Any other questions, comments, any other changes? Councilor
So
Ossing?
I just want to, so my notes reflected Council Doucette wants information. Do you still want that? Is that information you want?
I'm going to pass on it, considering I was outvoted as far as majority goes.
Okay.
So therefore, the only items is what you identified.
Fantastic. Then a motion would be in order. Councilor
Motion
Jouer.
to approve as amended.
Motion was made and seconded to approve as amended. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So gentlemen, it will be your responsibility to change the decision, send it back to us that we can look at, and we'll send to our solicitor to be put in proper legal form. This meeting should be on the website in a week, if you need that to help you do it. Other than that, you should be good to go.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Councilor Jouer.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Motion is made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are adjourned at 6:07. Thank you.